Mr. Jones. How are you?
What's up? Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. How are you? You good?
I'm good. Things are well. How are you?
I'm coming off vacation, so I'm worried the world fell apart last week. Everything good?
See, that's what you get for going out of town.
The thing is I think everybody should take a vacation because sometimes we need our brain just to reset, right?
Yep.
It's hard, but it's important. Um,
Yeah.
I ran into some agents at the airport yesterday that were coming back from Cancun, and they were like, "Yeah, we worked on our laptops the whole time." I was like, "That's not really a vacation." Uh, moving on, Mr. Jones.
hmm
Let's jump into. We got a lot to talk about today.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah. Lots happening.
okay, so Fulton County. Let's start there. So 429 new active listings. Certainly a slowdown. Changed the way we've been searching a little bit. So before it was active status changes, and these are actual new active listings coming on the market. So that's the big difference in numbers. So
Mm.
don't look at the previous comparison, the last 3 weeks, 473, 445, and 429. Certainly slowing down just a little bit.
A little bit.
Yet, what I am encouraged by are these numbers. So, 3 weeks ago, 77 active under contract
Mm.
on the 7 day total, then 96, and now 137.
Yeah, that's great.
Say, what the heck? But I actually suspect um, there's a little motivation of the interest rate changed in that inside of that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's a combination of, cooler weather has brought out more buyers out looking because it's not oppressive to go out, walk outside like it was in August. And then the interest rates on top of that, I think it's a good one-two punch to get people back in the market.
Yeah, you know, uh, we had some political events over the last couple of weeks. I'll leave it there. And sometimes when the country has political events, people get distracted in conversation, and we
hmm
we see the effect in real estate. But I'm not seeing a big effect in the real estate numbers outside of what I think is an increasing activity.
hmm
I think has a lot to do with mortgage rates, and I'm
Yeah,
encouraged by that.
I definitely think it's the rates and also just I think our seasonality is back to sort of pre-pandemic, which is, after September 15th-ish, it picks up through the middle of November. So I'm hoping we continue to see it strong until then.
Yeah. And I think this is a error. If Luke's on here, he can correct it. But our pending numbers have been staying pretty strong. Um, and our closing numbers, I think this is an error as well.
Hmm.
Uh, so we'll see. Maybe this is correct in the previous weeks for errors, but there's certainly some discrepancy in these numbers.
All right.
We will come back to that. All right, DeKalb County, 234 active inventory, a little bit down, same story. Like it declined a little bit, but the activity of contracts went way up. So
hmm
57 3 weeks ago, 77 last week, and now 97 this week. So if I'm an agent listening to this update and we're talking about this, um, I should feel encouraged by that, right? And
Yeah.
I should be asking myself, am I having the same experience? Am I getting more phone calls or more activity, more people? What do you think, Mark?
No, I completely agree. And then the answer, to your question, if it ends up not being that you're seeing the same activity, then you have to kind of look at what you're doing. What are your daily activities that are need to change to bring in more activity? Because the market as a whole seems to be picking it up.
Yeah, for sure. And I just think that's such a great thing, right? Uh,
Yeah.
all right, Cobb County, same kind of story, except they bounced back a little bit in active inventory this week from 255
hmm
back to 285. But theirs isn't as drastic, but certainly
But steady increase.
that's right, like 53 to 66 to 76
hmm
activity, active going under contract. 181 pending and 195 closed out in the last 7 days. Uh, pretty solid numbers. All right,
Hmm.
Mark, two giant stories hit the headlines this last 7 days. First one, Zillow gets sued in a class action lawsuit over
Hmm.
allegedly deceptive flex agent tactics.
Right.
Couple comments about this. One, it's the same law firm that did the NAR settlement.
Right.
And so when something like this happens, your first inclination is, oh, it's going to completely disrupt the industry. And I think we've learned as the NAR settlement, it really didn't change the industry that much. Uh, that's the first perspective. The second perspective is the lawyers make a lot of money in these things, and everybody else doesn't. Uh,
Right.
and I'm not sure the consumer really cares much about this one as they did the NAR settlement one. So that's interesting.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but the question I'm asking myself, Mark, and I'll ask you, is there's a chunk of our industry that does lead aggregation and their business comes from like the internet lead aggregators, right?
Hmm.
Or the Zillows, the Homes.com, the Realtor.coms, and so forth. And the revenue model is either one of two ways. One is you pay for leads and
Right.
you pay it in an operating expense. You buy leads, or the other model is you don't pay for leads on the front end, but you pay a referral fee on the back
Right.
end as a
As a cost of sale. Right.
um, so the question I'm asking myself, and I'll ask you, is: does this disrupt the lead aggregation part of our industry? What do you think?
I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see if it does. Something tells me that if they're successful with this, they're going to look at Realtor.com and other aggregators next. But I think they've realized that they've sort of tapped out a lot of the real estate brokerages. So it makes more sense to go after the portals, the aggregators now, because they have deep pockets and they benefit a lot from what happens in the real estate market. So, and let's
Sure.
face it, they are making money off of our leads, basically.
Yeah. Well, they're following the money trail, right?
Yep.
And they are, and it's their revenue model. Is
Yep.
it good or bad? I'm neutral, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think it puts income in real estate agents' pockets that doesn't normally make its way there because, uh, here's the leadership frustration for us, Mark. If agents would do lead generation the way we train and teach them and coach them to do it, they wouldn't necessarily have to have this kind of uh, relationship with lead aggregators, but this is an
Right.
easier way of getting leads into real estate agents' pockets. Uh,
Right.
it's a double edged sword, both sides of the coin conversation, right? Um,
Yeah.
but nonetheless, I don't think much is going to change, but it certainly was a big headline story, and we'll see where it goes. It is class action, so if you understand what that means, it just means that it's very widespread.
So the conversation I've always had with people around lead aggregation is, if you're using it, no harm, no foul. If that's your business model, that's your business model. There's nothing intrinsically wrong with it. The challenge I always see is when you're getting your leads from a third party, you become dependent on that third party. So I've been challenging agents for years about, if that's where you're getting a lot of your business from, to diversify that. So if something happens with that and it goes away, you can still survive.
Yeah,
And a lot of the agents that I've worked with were on Zillow Flex programs, and then that was taken away from them about 2 years ago. So they've had to shift. And the ones who started doing lead generation the sort of old-fashioned relationship building way with their spheres and past clients have been fine. It's the ones who didn't have that backup plan that saw a big challenge. So this could be uh, a leading indicator that there may be more disruption in that lead flow.
yeah, and interesting, Mark. What you know, we go to a lot of real estate conferences, and I go to a lot of Keller Williams conferences, of course. And one of the ones I'm going to coming up is the Luxury Symposium in
Hmm.
Palm Beach, Florida, coming up for luxury real estate, because I want to make sure I'm challenging my thinking and up to date with what's going on in real estate. I think it's a really important part of our industry to attend these events. But I go to the Zillow conference, and one of the reasons I go is to get a perspective around our industry that's different from the same perspective inside our company. And
Right.
I'm sure I will get a lot of information about this going forward when I attend that conference in the next month or so.
Yeah. It'll
Uh,
definitely be one to watch.
for sure. Well, the other big headline hit this morning, which says brokerage giant Compass agrees to acquire rival Anywhere for $1.6 billion. So, Anywhere, if you're not aware, is the conglomerate brand that holds Coldwell Banker, Sotheby's, Century 21, Better Homes and Gardens. There's a handful of Ansley's.
ERA. Yep.
Um, and I don't know enough to have like a super educated opinion, but my first blink on this is these were corporate, traditional brand real estate companies, and
Mm-hmm.
struggling over the last decade to be highly relevant in the real estate space.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they were folding in the towel and Compass bought them, or Compass saw it as a strategic thing. My first blink is Compass, while Compass is a traditional real estate company, they kind of operated outside the corporate feeling for a long time. And I actually think this makes it more corporate. This all of a sudden is now a giant corporate version of real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Makes me feel good because we land in the entrepreneurial, the renegades, the out of the box space. But obviously, I don't know enough to say if this is a good or a bad thing for our industry, which is really what we care about on this call: is how does this affect our industry, right?
Right.
It's certainly a merger, an acquisition, and I'll tell you where I my brain goes to around the industry, Mark, is Robert Refkin of Compass is very loud about two things. He's very loud about private listing networks,
Mm-hmm.
and he's very loud around taking on Zillow head to head.
Yep.
And this acquisition makes that voice much louder
Mm-hmm.
around anti Zillow and anti private listing, or pro private listing networks.
Right.
So I think that's really what the industry effect will have around this acquisition, is around those two things.
It'll also be interesting, I think, to see just if there's any pushback from a antitrust standpoint, because that becomes a very, very large company. So it'll be interesting to see if the government allows the merger, or if they have any sort of brakes they want to put on that transaction.
Yeah, I don't think it turns every Compass or every Century 21 agent or every Coldwell Banker agent into a Compass agent. I think they'll operate separate.
Yeah, it says they're going to operate, at least this article says they're going to operate under the various brands that they're already under.
Yeah. It's interesting to say the
Hmm.
least. And like I said, it hit the news cycle this morning, so we can't not talk about it. But I don't
Yeah.
even read any op-eds about it yet. So we'll.
Yeah, it's too new.
All right, moving on. I want to hit a couple big topics today, Mark. One
Okay.
is last week, the Federal Reserve cut the Fed rate.
Right.
Then we saw, as you saw, the mortgage rates went up.
Yeah.
They were below 6.25 a week ago, and now they're 6.35. And I actually think most real estate agents uh, don't know how to explain that. One,
Hmm.
two, I think the consumer is confused by that.
Right.
And the other thing is the media is talking about, Mark, how the Fed's going to cut the rate two more times before the end of the year. And I think an uneducated consumer might think maybe I should wait to buy real estate for the mortgage rates to come down when the Fed cuts the rate.
Right.
And I think you got to have some basic level of explanation. I was joking with somebody earlier. I said, I went to college and I studied economics. and I think I studied them to pass the test, and then I actually learned economics out in the
Right.
business world. And but the Fed rate is the rate that banks get charged to borrow money. The
Correct.
mortgage rates, and the Federal Reserve controls that rate.
Right.
The mortgage rates are the rates the banks charge the consumer to borrow money, and the
Right.
banks control those rates. So they're not totally connected, but they are loosely connected.
Yeah, they're like correlated, but they're not. It's not a one-on-one, one-to-one direct
No.
correlation.
And the other storyline here to help people understand is if you have friends or know anybody from Venezuela, Venezuela is a country that had inflation that got so out of control that the currency in Venezuela was basically worth nothing. So it ruined the currency of Venezuela.
Right.
And where we live in a capitalistic, democratic society, and the Federal Reserve's primary role is to protect the value of the US dollar and to protect the value of our homes that we live in.
Mhm.
So back a couple months, a couple years, when inflation was getting out of control, Fed raises the federal funds rate to pull inflation down to protect the value of the U.S. dollar. Well, now inflation's under control, and they're trying to loosen the Federal Reserve rate to speed the economy up, but they
Right.
also don't want inflation to get back out of control.
Right. It's the dual mandate of the Fed is to keep employment under control and keep inflation under control,
Yes.
and those are constantly at odds. So it's a balancing act on their part.
But I think AI would be an interesting exercise here, Mark, to just go type into ChatGPT. How do I explain to a consumer what the Federal Reserve and the federal fund rate affects mortgage rates,
Hmm.
and let ChatGPT give you an explanation of it? Because I can tell you, your consumers think that this is directly related to mortgage rates, and it's not.
Yeah. I mean, the upside of that is when the consumers hear the Fed is lowering interest rates and they hear the news, they assume that that means their mortgage rates are going to go down, so they get back into the market. The downside is when they go to look at actual rates, they'll see, at least in the short term, they usually see a bump, like rates actually go up
Yeah,
temporarily before they ever go down or flatten.
yeah. Um, So I found this article. It says artificial intelligence taking the real estate world by storm. And there's some crazy stats in here, Mark. It says
Hmm.
the findings specifically revealed that many realtors, or 58% of survey respondents, have used ChatGPT. Pause. That tells me 42% of the realtors have never even logged into them.
I've never even used it, right?
And then it goes on to say, well, 20% report using it daily,
Some
22%
AI, yeah.
report using it weekly, and 27% a few times a month. So really, my guess is 40% of the real estate community is actually like engaged with AI. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it sounds about right based on my conversations with agents, and I'm doing what I can to urge people to get involved with it and to start using it if they haven't yet, because they're already kind of behind. Like people have been using this at a pretty high level now for almost 2 years, and it's. I think back to when social media came out, and agents when social media came out, I remember agents saying like, I'm not going to use that. Like that's for kids. And that quickly changed. Like they realized at some point, like we have to do this. So I think AI is going to be the same way, but it's happening a lot faster than social media did.
100%. And I sit there and I think, all right, Mark, if you were going to go on a listing presentation tomorrow, knowing 40% of the real estate agents don't do AI and 60% aren't even fluent in it, Would you talk to a seller about how you were going to leverage AI to sell their house in your listing presentation?
Yeah, if you have a strategy around it, absolutely. I
I
think you
would.
should talk about anything you're doing to sell their house, right? Because right now, sellers are wanting to know what are you doing besides putting it in the MLS because I can pay a flat fee company to do that, and they know that. So what are you doing outside of that, right? Like how are you pricing? How are you using AI? How are you marketing? All of those things.
I think
And
it
by
should
the
be.
way, AI can be used in pricing too.
Yeah. I think it would be quite techy or quite interesting to a seller if that was actually part of your presentation around how you and your team or you and your brokerage are leveraging AI to support the sale of their house, right?
Hmm.
You could also make mention that, hey, look, I want you to hire me as your buyer representative, And what I know is over half the industry is not using AI, and this is how I'm going to leverage AI to help you find the perfect house.
Hmm.
I mean, I just think it's a differentiator right now, and it won't always
It
be.
is.
To your point, I think
Yeah.
the world's going to wake up and realize it's necessary, just like social media, right?
Yep. Agreed.
All right, I want to talk about this. So it says here's why non-qualifying mortgages earned its place at the mortgage dinner table. So real quick definition: non-qualifying mortgage is a mortgage that's not rubber stamped by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which just means I
Right.
come to the table with a W-2, a credit score, and down payment, right? And
Right.
I check the boxes and I go through the underwriting system. Um, Non-qualifying mortgages showed up in 2008, 9, and 10 and actually got a bad reputation. However, there's a big place for non-qualifying mortgages
For
in
sure.
the real estate space because just like many people, real estate agents don't come to the table with W-2s and don't come to the table with a constant flow of income. And
Right.
we would buy mortgages or buy houses with non-qualifying mortgages, right? And
Hmm.
um, the thing about it is when the market gets tight and then the market starts to come out of that tightness, more non-qualifying mortgage products show up. And I think lenders are going to stand in front of your team meeting, Mark, or any of our offices team meetings, and start to talk more about mortgage products,
Yeah.
non-qualifying, um,
They
and
already are.
and I think we should be paying attention. That's my
Yeah.
point. Um,
More of our clients today are self-employed than ever before. Like there's just so many more people who've started businesses since the pandemic began. So this is essential for people who don't have traditional W-2 jobs and that are self-employed because our taxes don't reflect what our cash flow is.
yeah, for sure. And I want to show one thing. Bob Seymour out of our Buckhead office sent me this over the weekend. And I want to make sure I disclaim I'm not advocating for this, but I thought it was interesting to at least talk about what are the creative things that are coming to the real estate space. So there's this website called Jubilee.
Hmm.
Same house, better price, increase your buying power, keep more capital in your pocket when you use Jubilee to buy a home, save 95% of your down payment. So less down payment money. You
Hmm.
read into this, and it says Jubilee works by utilizing an innovative but proven real estate model called a land lease. So when you buy the house, you own the house, they own the land underneath it.
Right.
So you pay a mortgage and you pay the land lease. And then you can buy the land at any time for up to 99 years or recombine if you decide to sell the house or what. You own the property, but it's totally unconventional way of buying real estate. Is this good or bad? I'm neutral. The
Yeah, I
reality,
mean, I would have to see the numbers and how they roll out, but I mean, it's not unheard of. When I lived in California in Palm Springs, half of the land there is Indian land, and it's leased on 99-year leases, just like this. So it's not an unheard of thing, but it definitely has repercussions. So
sure, you don't get the tax write off on the land and things like that, but uh, a lot of commercial real estate's done this way.
yes,
Somebody owns the land and somebody owns the building on top of the land.
yep,
Um, but I looked here, like it's all over, like Austin, LA, Seattle, San Francisco. Uh,
Yeah.
it's just an interesting product to talk about on Industry Update. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Doesn't look like there's any in Atlanta yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's here by the first of the year.
Well, yeah, I don't think they're geographic specific, so somebody's going to do it somewhere.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
worthy of wild, crazy discussion for the morning. Um,
Hmm.
the other thing I threw an article out here on, Mark, was um, the MLS has always been a data center that with IDX push data to third party sites. Well, I'm finding, remember Zillow has their Zillow showcases and virtual tours and all the products that they use.
Hmm.
CoStar or Homes.com also owns Matterport, which is the 3D floor plan company.
Right.
This is the first time I've heard of data integration going the opposite way back to an MLS.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of interesting. It says the creator of Flex MLS announced a strategic integration with Zillow that introduces the functionality, simplifying and enhancing the process of importing high value critical listing media into the MLS.
Hmm.
So they're integrating both directions. And I thought, well, that's new and interesting.
Yeah. It makes sense though when you think about how many people are doing listing videos now versus 5 years ago. Right?
Yeah,
Like they came out with that as a differentiator, so you could say to your seller, "Oh, I've got this video service through Zillow that I can do blah blah blah." And now agents are doing that on their own. They don't need a third party to do that. So they're now Zillow's saying, "Okay, well, you can upload that into our system."
yeah. All right. So we ended a little early. Does anybody have any questions or comments? You can raise your hand and I can bring you on screen. If not, Mark Jones is going to fill the time with some wisdom.
On a Monday morning.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right. If not, we'll call it, Mark. Have a good
Yeah.
we ended early. Go put that on record.
Got it. Thanks,
Bye.
guys. See y'all.